Okay, so let's go over the morning trade that I took and some important things that I missed out on in terms of um why didn't we bounce at 5100? I'm sure a lot of people have that same question. It's like because it was the largest one, it was also positive. Um and there was one specific reason that I completely missed. Um it was they don't have that DDOI image from this morning that Geo had. Someone could send that into Discord, that would be helpful so I can drag it in. Oh, right here. Could see it on the TOS chain. Yeah, I figured. I'm sure. Uh, copy image. Okay, copy image. Cannot paste. Image is way too large. Okay, but this is important right here. 5100. So they are a bunch. Number one, it is sold calls, right? For those who don't know what sold calls are, that is a bearish position, right? Why is it bearish? Because obviously, if you long a call, right? Long a call, then you are bullish, right? But let's say you are selling a call, right? You sold calls. What does that mean? Sold call basically means you do not want price to go above that, so that if it does, what happens is then you lose on your position or you have to get exercised out, right? You make the least amount of premium. But with a bunch of sold calls, um, that essentially can tell you that is where where dealers basically don't want price to go to, right? So with that being said, I didn't have my tech demo open to catch that, but that is definitely something to pay close attention to. Next thing, reasons why I went short initially in the morning. I went short and just targeted low of day. So it wasn't like a terrible trade. It was definitely a solid trade, right? Couple 13 points. So first things first, why I went short. Basically at the high of day. Wish I obviously wish I held them, but it is what it is. Um, number one, first things first was there was SMT, right? NQ took out this high here. ES didn't take out that same high, right? We missed that. ES missed it right here, and NQ took it out right here. So for me, I was like, okay, I don't think we're going to push any higher. On top of that, we had this 5210 level from yesterday on SPX that played a really did a pretty good job of holding up the market, right? As you can tell, there's wicks here. So when it came down to here, that's when I ended up taking it right exactly here. I took SPY 511 puts that were in the money at 2.27, got out of them at like 2.7 and 3. So not a crazy trade by any means because they were in the money, but that was one of the reasons. Then on top of that, so that's two reasons. And then following that, we have this, right? The fib golden pocket, right? We were rejecting it, not a single candle close on the 2 minute above. So I had a good feeling we were going to go down, right? So you now have three exact reasons to basically go short. And four, ABS was 5100. So first reason was SMT, right? Second reason was 5110 level, just in general from a SNR perspective. Three was golden pocket fib, right? Fourth reason is ABS DGEX is 5100. So that's basically the magnet for the day. Oh, and fifth reason, Mancini was bearish. Mancini. So, but yeah, so you have five full reasons to go short today instead of basically going long. And I'll be honest, I don't know why I took calls. 5100 just kind of made sense. There were no pickups at the time. Definitely should have cut it when we've kind of flushed that low day, but you know, everything's size for zero, so it's not a huge deal. But we did end up losing today. But there was another one. NQ. What am I missing here? So, well, that's pre-market, didn't matter. when we get that new DDOI, current DDOI didn't show. I don't know if current DDOI didn't show, but this one was definitely the one that was key, right? Sold calls. So there is just every reason to go short today in the morning. So we'll review it right now just so we can kind of get a gauge of what it looks like with the data changing. So you guys can obviously tell 5100 is the main level, right? The next thing is I said this to somebody, but you want to see as we go lower, obviously you hear me say it all the time. You want to see one pick up and the other disappear, right? So kind of like I think somebody we were talking about or Gio was talking about it on stream or something that basically like I'm saying like TIE fighter, something about it like that. But basically one wing kind of dies and the other one doesn't, right? So you can already tell there's not much pickup, right? You have this maybe 5115 would have also been a pretty good level. Things to take into consideration is like when you have these bigger levels, or like not bigger levels, but jumps, right? These are relatively flat and then it kind of jumps here. That's a pretty good indication as a sort of wall will definitely be here, right? Same thing right here. No levels here. That's kind of like why we're fluctuating through them. And then level right here, right? Gex flip also was right. Oh, that's speed, but I'm pretty sure Gex flip is right here too. Looks like it's, yeah, this one gets bigger. This one maybe. So 50.95. So I figured it would be, we'd bounce at 95. Once again, just interpreted the data incorrectly, right? Also missing a key part. But continuing to watch this forward. 5110, we push up, we get to that 15 level area where it's just struggling, right? We can't seem to get past this one right here. And then one thing I was also talking about, as we were pushing lower, I think we were at like 80 or 50, 80, and Vonaflip was a lot lower. Vonaflip is right here right now. What is that? 15. Yeah. But Vana had a huge change. Vonaflip at a certain point was like 50, 60. Also, I was also I'm an Uber bear, in the sense of I think number one, last week we shorted, which is fine, right? Sorry, yeah, the week before we shorted. This one, basically, there was one thing that I was watching really closely was on SPX, I think. Basically, every single pullback we had within a bear market, it was 3 weeks of red, 1 to 2 weeks of green, and then 1 to 2 weeks of green before dumping lower. So that's why I've been bearish. On top of that, we never made a full correction from the high to the low. That's 5%, roughly a little under 6%. Usually these corrections go about like 8 to 12%. So that's why I'm still bearish in the sense of like, okay, I think we head lower. Hopefully that kind of makes sense to you guys, but you can kind of look back at it, right? We had a really strong push up, 1 week, 2 week, 3 week of red, and then 1 to 2 weeks of green before heading lower, right? So same thing with these situations, right? 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 1 week of green, right? And then head even lower, right? And none of these candles on a weekly time frame indicated strength, right? Because none of them, what you typically want to see just from a pure PA perspective is that this candle usually needs to be some form of engulfing where you can kind of get a better idea of overall buyers, I guess is the best way to kind of explain it in terms of if you want to see like a change. But yeah, you didn't really get that when we started this push up, right? Same thing with right here. Not really an engulfing candle afterwards, right? And then even if you didn't have any data, you just use fib, you would have easily caught that short. So it's the same thing with right here. I think we pushed up to like the half, the 50% retrace, yeah. And then NQ 50% retrace as well. Yeah, see. So it's not all the time you have to go back up to the golden pocket, but 50% is always a relatively good area to start sizing, to start getting a starter position. But continuing forward with watching this. Let's see, I want to see the data change when we get below 5100 or when we start dumping. That's more important. Okay. So I guess this is right here. right? There are not really any pickups, so maybe you would have gotten faked out like I did, like in terms of going long around this area, so 50, 80, right? So this is when I averaged, just because there's nothing of interest on D-adjusted until this is when I started getting a little bit worried, was when that 50-50 popped up. So 50-75 started picking up, and there's 50-50, right? Very small, but something worth noting, because why? It's near equal to 50-75, right? So as we start going lower, and then even 50-25 started picking up, right? You can just see all the interest kind of picking up lower. Although this is still the most obvious large one, it's just understanding that, okay, instead of now just 50-100, you can definitely tell dealers are getting ready to position lower, right? So they're showing signs that we are not potentially going to go back up. Vana flip also got lower, right? We're all in the negative, and then this is the start of the positive, which is right at 50-60, right? So then another sign, once again, we are post OPEX, so Vana's back in, or post the week after OPEX. So Vana's back in play. So it's something to pay close attention to. So Vana flip is lower than where we currently were, right? Vana flip was higher at 51-10, 51-15. But now look at where it is, right? So just a lot of things changed. On top of that, charm, in my opinion, was not large enough to essentially rally back up. Usually to get like or not rally, but I guess V-shaped recovery in terms of like a charm rally. But yeah, just things to consider. Charm was definitely nowhere near as negative as it could have been. If it was uber negative, maybe like 300 minus 400 billion, then I think we had a good chance of rallying back up, but we did not get there. So certain times it flashed it and then it just disappeared. So you can tell it stabilized around like that 80 to 100. Certain flashes right here, as you can see. Just pay close attention to that. But Vana, once again, although 5100 is still the largest, it's tough to say. And there, oh, there we go. There's the pickup, this sell off right here. See, and we are sitting at 50-70, and this has picked up hugely. This has picked up super massively, right? And then Vana flip even lower now, right? You can tell it's way lower. It's still, you can't even see it on the chart. And Vana flip now shows again. So 60, 55, 50, right? So Vana flip just continues to get lower and whatnot. So just a lot of things that are playing a role in this continuation downwards. Right here, once again, just huge pickups to the downside, right? It doesn't make sense to essentially continue to look for longs. I'm trying to think like maybe re-entries. We were to go back on smaller time frames hourly, right? This is also another level in terms of just overall. What does that look like on SPX? You can't even see it on SPX, but I think tomorrow we hit like 5,000 pretty easily. Without, there's no question in my mind that we hit 5,000. But onto that later. We'll just continue finishing out the day. But yeah, at this point, it's kind of like if you missed a move, you missed a move, right? It's better to sit on your hands than to try and jump into the shorts. Yeah, they definitely would have paid, but usually if I personally, that's just my thing. I don't like re-entering if I didn't enter at the best price. I want to see what it looked. Oh, this is when the dashboard went down. Damn. Would have been nice to see what it looked like towards the end. But anyway. Okay. So decent review of the day. Let's go into expectations for tomorrow. I think that will be more important. Tomorrow. Nothing on the board except what? 5,000. Nothing on the board except what? 5,000, right? 5,000, 5,000. So we're going to bounce there, have some form of a bounce. Why? Because it is a positive level, right? I think we hit 5,000, maybe we get lower, but once again, 4980 is pretty big in terms of relativity to the rest of it, right? So I want to say 5,000 is pretty much inevitable. Shout out Thanos. Let me get this is DDOI for tomorrow. Heavy, hold on. Let me refresh the page. Oh no, it hasn't updated. Okay, anyway then. Since it hasn't updated, I'll send it out tomorrow morning. But yeah, so 5,000 is pretty much inevitable. Um, my thought process going into it is to basically, I want to see, this is tough because we kind of fell off a little bit. I want to see some form of a sweep of some shit before taking like a position. Because we're just at this point where it's kind of just trend line, we're right at the trend line. So maybe a break would be okay, but I really hate taking trend line breaks. Wouldn't be a bad idea. This is also really good, right? Probably get a retest right around this area and then go lower to this distribution. I want to say that's most likely the setup for tomorrow. Do this, do this, and then go lower, right? So your take profits are going to be like right here. Wait, this is NQ. Sorry, trolling. All right, VP. So I do see us. Okay. Price targets for tomorrow are going to be something like this. 52.22 going to be an important level. Let me add this one. Okay. So this is basically the expectation for tomorrow. This level is going to be important. I think that's basically like for any of you ICT traders, it's called the draw on liquidity. There's liquidity under there. So with that being said, that's more than likely going to be your first take profit. Next one's going to be right here, and then even lower, and then even lower, right? If you want to be a smarter, safer trader, any sort of pop that you get, you're gonna want to be shorting it, in my opinion. That's just my 2 cents. Once again, could be wrong. But that's my focus for tomorrow. It's gonna be shorting all the pops. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I do think it's pretty inevitable that we hit 5,000. And just so happens this liquidity level lines up with 5,000. So it's not a bad idea. On a daily perspective, once again, these are just like the daily lows. So I think those get taken pretty easily. And that's really it, I think. So all that I don't doubt that we hit 5,000 and potentially get a bounce. 49.50. I don't see many pickups below, that's why. So I think below 25, once again, I'd like a retest of 50 first. If we manage to get back up to 50/50 SPX, I think that's gonna be your level to go short. Yeah, we showed no sign of like fucking resistance or support there. Yeah, so I think 50/50 is gonna be your ready to go short. So tomorrow we get 50/50, short back down to 5,000. Maybe get a bounce at 50/20 up to 50/25 and then head lower and sweep that. That's gonna be my estimation for tomorrow. Especially, and it makes sense. Why does it make sense? Because if we do, for those trend line traders, if we do crack this trend line, we have a pretty good opportunity to retest back up and then flush it again. So yeah, that's my take for tomorrow. Any questions? Any questions? Can I? Question mark. Should I grow my mustache? Always. I'm growing my beard out now. I haven't grown it out in a while. What's the aggregate date on TL show for tomorrow? Share the new DDO. Yeah, I will share the DDOI picture tomorrow morning. Aggregate. This is aggregate right now, so it's pretty fucking inevitable that 5,000 is it. So the main thing, I guess, that I have going into tomorrow in terms of like, yeah, 50-50 seems like a pretty decent place to get a rejection from. It's really fucking obvious. The new version, want to compare especially. Yeah, I'll send it in tomorrow. But at the ask, yeah, 171 days. What the fuck? What's the best video you have to learn how to read DDoI? Should I wait for some instructions on the new version? It's all the same. DDoI is basically you have this line here in the middle, right? Obviously. Anything above said line, so all this is bought. Anything below this, like these ones, are sold. Oh, I cannot spell. That's pretty much it. And if you don't know bought and sold calls, or bought sold puts or bought fuck English bought sold options. If they're bought, they follow the direction, right? So calls bullish, right? Puts bearish. BOT bull bear sold calls is bullish, sorry, bearish, bear, sold puts, bull. So I guess things to pay close attention to usually are going to be ones that are sold, right? In this case, today was sold at 5,100, but we have seen the case where it was sold puts at 5,000 and we were like 100 points away. And when we were sold puts at 5,000 and we were 100 points away, we ended up like fucking rallying 100 points back up to said level. Is it going to work every time? No. Cannot base it off of just one thing. Things need to line up. Right? So if you think about it like this, let me think. You have sold calls at 5,100, right? Sold calls carry a negative delta, negative delta, negative delta, right? If their delta is negative, so negative delta short shares. Let me see if this maths. Let me see if the maths. So negative delta short shares, as we get further out the money, their delta becomes smaller. If they're short shares, so if it goes from a negative 0.5 delta, it goes to negative 0.3 delta, they have to buy back some shares. That doesn't make sense. So you can't really squeeze them out. I'm trying to think of a situation where you can essentially squeeze them out. Round two. Sold puts. Right? And then we're sitting here, spot. We have that. Sold puts carry a positive delta. Trying to math here. Positive delta. So your short shares. If they're delta and they're sold in the money, they have pretty great negative delta. Or sorry, they have pretty good positive delta. Positive delta. Liquidos, correct me if I'm wrong, if you see anything. Double check my math. Shorts hedging them get dropped. Okay, right? That makes sense. So if it goes as we get more and more out the money, so 0.5, right? They start buying. So they are minus 80 shares here, minus 50 shares here. Yeah, okay, okay. So this is essentially how they get go. Okay. I was just confused for a second. So as you can tell, if they are at a positive 8 delta, their short shares are going to be minus 80, right? Um, as their delta goes lower, then dealers go from short 80 shares to short 50 shares, meaning they bought back plus 30, right? Suggesting that spot price will continue to rally up. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, sorry, my math was not mathing in my head for a second, but this makes sense. So interesting to see how negative calls carried or the short puts. That makes sense. So I guess on a rally up, this is something that you do want to see. If you want to see, so in this case, tomorrow, if there are, for whatever reason, short calls, so sold calls at 5,000, right? There are sold calls that carry negative delta, neg delta, right? Negative delta spot price sitting here, so 50, 35, right? Some shit like that. Let's say they're sold in the money, so their delta is going to be higher. So they're going to have minus 0.8 delta, meaning they need to be positive. They need to be long shares, right? And as we get a spot price gets closer and closer to said strike level of sold calls of 5,000, the call side delta will start decreasing. So it'll go from minus 0.8 to minus 0.5 delta. And they go from minus 80 shares or plus 80 shares, plus 80 shares to plus 50 shares, meaning they went minus 30 shares, thus suppressing the price even more. Okay. So tomorrow, I guess, does this make sense to you guys, or is it kind of like making sense what I'm doing here? It's very basic stuff in the sense of like being delta neutral slightly. This is the math. The basic simple math but behind this. Sold in the money calls below spot will pull price down. Yeah, exactly. That's essentially what I'm saying with this math. Sold in the money puts will pull price up. Yep. Yeah. Basically, what happens is sold calls will obviously be in the money, right? Sorry. If sold calls are in the money, what happens is their delta is going to be much higher because why? It's just they're sold and they're in the money, right? In the money, you have higher deltas. And as they get closer and closer to out of the money or at the money, right? Since spot price is going down, their delta changes, right? The delta decreases to negative 0.5. And essentially, instead of being long 80 shares with to basically negate the delta and bring it to zero, what happens is as it gets closer and closer to at the money, the delta is going to decrease, right? Call delta will decrease on sold calls. So meaning they go from plus 80 shares to plus 50 shares in order to stay what? Delta neutral, right? And in order to get from plus 80 shares to plus 50 shares, what do they have to do? They have to sell off 30 shares, meaning they're going to continuously sell, especially as we get lower. I get the delta part, but just need to go back and review DUI video a few times before it will kick in. Yeah, DDOI is very simple in the sense of like I said, it's literally just anything above it is bought, anything below it is sold, right? Green is calls. See, call DDOI, put DDOI. Anything below, sold, bought. But yeah, this is the simple math behind it. Hopefully that makes sense. Thanks, Lick, for confirming. Thought I was going crazy for a second. I was like, why does this not make sense to me? Is recording released right after class? I missed the start. Yes, I will release it. Once it's done processing, I'll upload it. Oh, my dogs. Okay. So once again, to reiterate, I guess we'll do a sort of Spark notes. So I think the dealers get out once the DDoI sells because DDoI only updates once in the morning, so we don't know if you won't know. So it's kind of just take your profit when you get to that point. Dealers bought again during the day. I had to stop typing. Oh no, you're good. You're good. Um, no worries. But yeah, going into tomorrow, I think 50-50 will be a pretty decent spot for rejection. Bonaflip is at 5,005, right? This is just very interesting. Hold on. I guess before we get into this, get out of this. Open my WhatsApp really quick. Need to see something. Need to see something. So we have positive below. So pause below. I want to see if it lines up. So for positive below, IV increase. Okay, this is good, actually. This is very good. Why do I want to make sure it lines up? For one specific reason. Usually, VIX in correlation with SPX, right? SPX is inversed, right? Inverse. So the reason I want to see if this lines up, which it does. So usually when they don't line up, you'll get a shittier PA, but since it's positive below, and if IV goes up, guess what happens? It will magnetize towards it, right? VIX and SPX correlation is inversed. So if you're looking for SPX to go down, right? Then you want to see VIX go up. So this makes sense going into tomorrow, which is nice. Does that make sense? Kind of lines up. Liquidos, correct me if I'm wrong. Thank you for being my fact checker. But this makes sense to me going into tomorrow. Once again, right? We have fixed up price down. Perfect. So we have 5,000, right? It just makes the most sense. 5,000 Vana below spot price. If IV goes up, it'll magnetize. And the correlation is VIX to SPX is inversed, meaning if you want SPX price to go down, then you want VIX to go up. So, or then you can expect VIX to go up. So it makes sense if we go down and vol continues to increase, which it will since the price is going down, right? Then SPX will continue to go lower. So all things line up tomorrow for what? 4 or 5,000. Right? Vana lines up, Gamma lines up. Charm, once again, is not negative enough to get a charm rally back up, in my opinion. Maybe when we get lower, the number will change, but I don't see it. I don't see it being sort of thing. Let the trader link stars line for 100% trades. So forward. Okay, 5,000 put, you might get clapped. My opinion, if you want to be smart, I wouldn't buy. I'd honestly buy next Friday puts because number one, all the contracts this week are stupid juiced. Tomorrow they're super juiced. The 5,000 put for tomorrow is literally $9 a contract right now. And if your target is 5,000, why the fuck would you get the 5,000 put? You want something that'll be in the money, right? So 50-10. So if you use that method, 50-10 is $1,300 right now. So my suggestion is you won't make as much, obviously, but at least you can potentially swing for more. Because I'd be picking up, excuse me. I'm personally looking at May 10th, like 500 calls, maybe even 495 calls. They won't go crazy, but I'm not here to capture a crazy return anyway. If you want, you can look. I would suggest SPY personally going into tomorrow. Tomorrow, April 1st. SPY at the money is still really expensive. Usually they're literally double in value. Usually at the money is like 80 bucks to 100 bucks. They're literally 185 to 195 right now for a 500 put. So 500 put will definitely go in the money at 5,000. We can just double check. We can double fact check that at this here, or we can just go straight to SPY here. Let me check. Settings, offset 10, right? Oh. SPX hits 5,000, SPY 500 puts will be in the money, right? What tool did I want to use? Brain fart. Sorry. 5,000 SPX, right? We'll put SPY 500 calls or 500 puts in the money. So at this point, they'll be in the money. So, there was an FVG around 50-50. How would you play that rejection area? How would I play that rejection area? You can just basically wait for some sort of center. So there is this. So even better, another reason as to why we may reject 50-50. If it inverses that gap, well, shit out of luck. Liquidos is a stream where he streams the TOS chain and he streams he streamed two things, ABS Delta and TOS chain. Go to his YouTube channel, Liquidos, if you could paste your YouTube channel for him. But yeah, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to pick up some SPY 500s. It'll put them at least in the money. But I do think we have a potential for lower. Right, if IV continues to drop, it'll be positive above us, positive above, and IV decrease. Oh shit, son. Tomorrow could be a bloodbath of a day. Okay, we're gonna go over this once again. Because I found something even more interesting. Okay, let's get a screenshot of this. Right. So we currently have, make it a little thinner. With where we currently are, so current, we have pause below, right? Leading to an increase in IV, leads to magnet, leads to dealers sell where we currently are, right? This is current position. If we get below 5,000, right? So below 5,000, things are lining up. We now have positive above, right? Leads to, if you have positive above and IV goes up, leads to repellent. Leads to even more selling. So this lines up pretty well, right? All basing it upon this 5,000. On top of that, we have Jack's 5,000. And as well as interest at 49.80. So it makes sense. What type of day do you think tomorrow will be with all the news? Downs. That's my bias. All right. Take it with a grain of salt. I've been wrong. I was wrong today, right? I lost money for being wrong. But the most you can do is walk away from it and prep for the next day. So this is my prep work. This is how I prep, right? I take a look at our data and see what basically it can lead to. And this is what I'm getting to. So currently, this is the situation, right? If SPX drops, VIX goes up, right? So with VIX going up, what does that mean? Price, IV goes up, right? If we get below 5,000, what happens? It is now positive above us. That is subject to change. I've seen it change very, very quickly. So keep that in mind, right? If we get below 5,000 and you see GEX pickups, right? You see 4980 pickup pretty relatively well, right? Then you can go back and double check if it is still positive above us. Why? Because if we get below 5,000 and it is positive above and IV continues to go up, which it definitely will, right? Because if SPX price goes down, what happens to VIX? VIX goes up. It will create a repelling effect, leading to more selling from dealers. So this could be a really bloody day going into tomorrow. I don't have anything prepped for the upside, or a plan for the upside. If this doesn't show, then it doesn't show, right? But this is my expectation going into tomorrow. There's a lot of people who are bullish right now, which that's pretty much like, and that's pretty much what kind of is making me hesitate. Usually it doesn't, but these are some people that I trust who are bullish. But those people that I trusted today being bullish, that fucked me. So it just tells me I should continuously listen to myself. And if I'm wrong, at least I'm wrong by myself instead of listening to somebody else. Does that make sense? Yeah, we have a huge day tomorrow. We have all of it. So non-farm employment, not really a huge deal in my opinion. That's pre-market, so I don't give a fuck. We have PMI at 645. This is why I do think it could be a huge fucking bloodbath. And then we have another PMI, ISM PMI at 7. On top of that, we have JOLTS at 7, and then we have the fund rate decision at 11, and then we have the statement at 11, and we have JPOW at 11:30. So tomorrow is a jam fucking packed day, and this is why the options are more than double the cost. It's not just your standard like 30-35%. No, that bitch is jacked today or tomorrow, going into tomorrow. So with that being said, things line up for me. Things line up in my head. So that's pretty much all I have to say for today. Hopefully all of that kind of makes sense to you. I kind of broke it down. One leads to another, right? So go back, rewatch the video. I'll post it as soon as it finishes uploading. But with that being said, I'm gonna end it here. No more questions. So I feel like this is a good enough amount of information. If you enjoyed the class and you have Twitter, feel free to tag TraderLink. Feel free to tag me. It'd be greatly appreciated. But that's all she wrote for today. So everyone have a great rest of your guys' day. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Let's kill it, guys.